Okay, welcome to this tutorial. We're just going to have a quick look at a few tips that I can give you on using Camera Raw. In this case we're using Photoshop, but exactly the same process you would do in Lightroom. We're using exactly the same sliders. And we're looking at ways we can get a little bit of detail back into our photographs. So we've got a picture here of a tawny eagle. And I'm just going to zoom in that. So if we look on the left hand side on the tools at the top there, I'm going to click on the zoom tool and I'm just going to select a region to take a closer look. And basically what I'm looking at is any parts of the image that haven't got great detail, so I've lost in the highlights basically of the image. And if we look at the top of the beak along here, you can actually see there's a little bit of detail there, but we can get more of that back. And the magic slider for that, if we look over on the right hand side, is the highlight slider. And if we drag this to the left, you will see we're getting a lot more detail in this area now. You can just see that coming through. Another thing to look out for is the histogram. If we look at the top there, we can view the histogram. And that really tells me a lot of information. You can't always trust your monitor, but you can always trust your histogram. Basically, sometimes your monitor can be a bit dark and can be a bit light. You can have it calibrated, yes, but not everybody does. But if you check your histogram, it's really telling you a lot of information about the picture. I can see that I've got no areas clipping. I've got no areas in the dark regions that are clipping. And if I was to take the blacks down, you would see I would then get a signal on the histogram. You can see that up there. So that's showing me the areas where the image is now clipping. So we'll just take the blacks back with a double click. So that's telling me a lot about the image. When you drag the highlights down, quite often the picture can be a little bit dull. But we don't take the highlights back up to recover that. We're using the whites. So if I drag the whites to the right, just until I see the clipping just starting to come up on the indicator there, on the histogram. I'll just drag that back slightly. And we're making sure also by looking at the image that we're not still losing detail. And if we are, we can just bring it back a little bit more. So that is now showing me I've got the perfect exposure. I can see more detail in the top area of the beak there. And everything is looking good. We've got a little bit of shadow detail that's a little bit strong, and we're losing a little bit there on the eye. So we're going to look at that, how we can alter that later. But for now, I'm just going to open the image. Shall open the image up in Photoshop. I'm just going to double click the magnifying glass in the toolbar on the left hand side, and that will make the image 100%. So I'm really keen on this area. So basically now, okay, we've got some detail back on there. Let's say it wasn't enough. Let's say I wanted to get a little bit more on there, and I want to show some more detail also in the eye. Now there's various ways of doing this. I'm going to show you my methods. And basically what we're going to do is a layer adjustment. But first of all, we're going to copy this layer. So we go to Layer on the menu, Duplicate Layer. And it comes up, you can give it this layer a name. Well, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this one, let's have a look. We'll call this one Shadows. Or dark rather, we'll go dark. So these are the areas that I want to make darker, so we'll go darker on that. I'm going to duplicate this layer again. And we'll call this one lighter, so this is the area we're going to make lighter. So basically what we've now got, we look on the layers there, we've got 3 layers. And basically they're all identical, they've all got exactly the same information on there. But now we're going to change things. Lighten. If we look just above we can see that the mode for this layer is called normal. In other words, it's just a normal layer. If we click on that, we can change the mode of the layer. And we've got these long list of different things on there, and the two that we're interested in is multiply and screen. And basically multiply will make things darker, screen will make things lighter. If I click on screen, you can see now the image is much lighter. If I was to change that to multiply, everything's a lot darker. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. On the lighter layer, I'm going to change that to screen. And on the darker layer, I'll click there to select it. I'm going to change that one to multiply. Now it's looking fairly balanced now, and that's because basically those two are actually cancelling each other out. We've got a lighter layer, we've got a darker layer, so therefore we're getting what's in the middle. So what we now need to do is to put a layer mask on each of these separate layers. So to do that, if we just look at the bottom of the layer palette on the right hand side, we've got like a little white square with a circle in the middle, and that is to apply, or say now, add layer mask. So we click on that, and again it's done nothing yet to the image, but we can see a box has appeared now on the layer, and that box is white. That's important. We're going to change that in a moment, and to change that, I'm making sure I'm clicking on that area, I'm selecting the mask. You can see you can select the image or the mask. I'm clicking on that white square there, and we go to Image, Adjustments, Invert, because we want to invert that from being white to black. And there you can see now it's black. We're going to do the same on this, and I'm going to show you a different method to use. This method works basically on the Mac or on the PC. When we apply the layer, so I'm going to click on that again, but before I do, I'm going to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and then click on it, and you'll see straight away that it becomes black. So that's a nice quick way, but if you've done it the other way, you can always go to the other method that we used to make it darker, to make it black. Okay. You may never have used layers before, so this may be new to you, it may not be, but basically these layer masks, they hide things, or they actually make things transparent so you can see things underneath the actual layer. Now, if the area is black, that means they're fully transparent. I can see through them, I can see whatever's below, and because we've added a black mask to both of those layers, we can now see the background layer. The two layers above are not being shown, they're both completely transparent. And we can make them opaque, if you want to put it like that, by actually painting in the reverse colour. So if we paint in white, what we're actually doing is we will change the opacity from being totally transparent to being opaque. We can see through that. But the nice thing is, if we use a paintbrush, we can just apply that where we want it. Now basically the lighter area that I want is going to be here on the eye. I want to show this being a bit lighter in that area there. Not too worried about the rest. So, first of all I want a paintbrush. So from the tools on the left hand side, I'll click the paintbrush. And basically we want a soft brush. You can see the different brushes along there. I'm going to use a soft brush. Don't worry too much about the size, just you can see the hard brushes, which are the white ones, these are softer on the edge. You can change the size by using a slider here and putting your mouse over the picture. So we'll use that method for now. There is another way that's much quicker, but we'll use this method for now. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the title bar at the top, and that will take that away. That's roughly the type of brush that I want. And then we look at the two colours on the colour picker. We've got black and white. Now remember, our layer mask is black already, we want it to be white, so I can actually flip those two colours round by clicking the little symbol above there, switch foreground. Okay, and if you haven't got black and white for any reason, you should have if you're actually on the layer mask, but if you've not at any stage and you want black and white, you can click this little button. If I just change that around, if you click this little button there, that will give the default colours. So that's just to the left of that little icon. And if I click that now, we've got black and we've got white. There we go. So we want white to be the colour selected. And basically all we do is to paint over the area that I want to lighten. So I want to lighten that area there. Now you can say that's probably too light now. It doesn't matter too much, but I want to darken the centre of the eye slightly. So I'll change the colour back to black. I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. So I'll use that same method. I'm just going to click on that area just to darken the pupil of the eye there. Okay, so if we look at our masks, we look at the area on here, on the layers, you may just see a tiny little bit of white on there. It's quite hard to see because it's so small, but there is a tiny white dot on that layer there, and that's on the lighter layer. Now, if we change the opacity of that layer, so just above there we've got the opacity, you can see we can get anything we want, from totally transparent to bring it up. So that's basically what I want. I want the eye to come through that much. Okay, but the sur of the beak, which is this yellow area there, the top of the beak, which is called the sur, I want to make that slightly darker. Remember, we darkened it a little bit using the technique in Lightroom, but I want it even darker than that. So to do that, we go to this layer, the darker layer, and I click on the mask. So we must make sure that the mask is selected. That black square needs to be clicked. And we go over here and we select white, and we use our paintbrush again, and we paint over the sur of the beak. And can you see now that detail? Just a little bit more detail. Just make the brush smaller. And I am going to show you another technique now, because I hate going back up to there. So if you look at your keyboard and you look at your enter key on the keyboard, to the left of that you've got two curly brackets. And if you press those curly brackets, you can see the right curly bracket makes the brush bigger and the one on the left makes it smaller. Now I use this a lot because I'm using the paintbrush a lot. Okay, so you can see I've gone over the edge there and I've darkened the background a little bit. So to correct that, we can change the colour to black, make a smaller brush and just go along the edge there just to paint that little bit off, and then we can swap to white. And I want to get a little bit more there, so I'm going to make the brush even smaller using those keys, and we're probably not going to get it much darker than that. That's probably all we're going to get. And I've gone over the edge again there, so we swap over again. So you can see, changing from black and white, you can make it darker, or you can make the layer transparent. And that could basically be applied. So using these two different layers now, we can apply that to any part of the image. I'm pretty happy with the rest of that. But that just shows little techniques to get the perfect image and the perfect exposure all over the image. And there we are. Much better exposed picture. All I would do now is I would probably crop the picture slightly. I want to just get the shoulder of that bird there. So we use the crop tool for that. That's the crop tool there. And if you're not happy, you want it to straighten the image, you can put the mouse outside of that area. When you get the double, just outside the corners there, you can see the little boomerang shape arrow up here. When you get that, you can hold it down and you can twist the image to straighten it. So I'm just going to bring that in a little bit. There we go, and I'll press enter, and there's my image. Okay, so that's a little technique for getting the perfect exposure. I hope you enjoyed that.